The following is a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.
Good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. It's Tony Bone here from Tony Kurre Radio and, of course, the Tony Kurre Radio Podcast Network. We've got a ton. We got over 1,000 shows now. You will find a show on the Tony Kurre Radio Podcast Network. Just search Tony Kurre Radio Podcast. It's Kurre with a K, and you will find a show somewhere in there that you're going to love. We did a whole host of brand new shows, 7 new shows on Monday. We did a couple new shows yesterday. I've got 3 more shows tomorrow with the Woodhouse Day Spa, Stuart Rome, When in Rome. It's going to be a great show. He does great shows every week. And also, of course, Want to Bet coming up this weekend. And Mark Ingram, the athletic director for the UAB Blazers, was on about 12 hours after he made his Trent Dilfer hire last week. And so that podcast is doing really well. And of course, you can hear all those shows first time on the TKR app, Tony Kurre Radio app through Apple, or Tony Kurre Radio through Android. Check out our stuff, and I greatly appreciate your support. 10-year-old daughter this year. We're 18 days away from Christmas. Started asking Santa Claus questions. A little young to be asking Santa Claus questions. And of course, when you're at a mall on one side of the street and then you see Santa Claus on the other side of the street, kids start thinking, wait a minute. And they realize that the real Santa Claus it can't always be everywhere at one time. And so there's like 20 different Santa Clauses, and they're his helpers, right? And we firmly believe in Santa Claus. It's all dependent on what you believe is your Santa Claus, and certainly from a spiritual standpoint, it exists. So I heard this story about this guy who was in North Carolina, and he was a photographer, and he worked at some Bass Pro Shops or something every year. And a great photographer, and they had a Santa Claus there. And this black family came in and said, have you ever thought of having a black Santa Claus? And he kind of scratched his head. He's like, we've always had a white Santa Claus, as far as we know. A stereotypical white Santa Claus. I got like a 30-foot white Santa Claus down the street, by the way. It's a blow-up. It's huge. And he's like, well, why don't you consider bringing in a black Santa Claus? So he goes to the management and says, have you ever thought to have a black Santa Claus come to, I think it was a Bass Pro Shops, or maybe it was a mall or something like that. Tim McGee Sr., good morning to you. And they're like, that's a great idea, but then they didn't do anything about it. And so I was asked the question yesterday, what's your thoughts on having a black Santa Claus, or a Latino Santa Claus, or a Jewish Santa Claus, whatever. And I said, I have no problem with it at all. You know, we get hung up so much on stereotypes and stigmatisms. We used to have a show on Tony Kurre Radio. You may still be able to podcast it, called Adapt or Perish. And basically, it talks about in life, if you're not willing to change, if you're not willing to adapt to what's going on, you're going to die off. You're going to be left behind. You got to change. Hell, even Rod Stewart had a disco album. I mean, he realized in the 70s, man, that's where everyone was going. A lot of people thought it was the worst piece of shit he ever came out with, but it had Do You Want to, or Do You Think I'm Sexy on it. It was a pretty good song, but it's Rod Stewart. But what I'm saying is he was changing with the time. We always think that people, you do what you do, you stick to what you do, and you don't change for anybody. Well, that works sometimes in businesses if you're super successful and you don't want to change. I get that. But in life, you've got to change, and you got to think outside the box a little bit. Sometimes you got to be willing to look at things a little differently. Not everything fits your ideologies, and not everything fits your stereotypical thoughts, and not everything fits your culture. So if you have a black family that wants to have a black Santa Claus, totally for it. Super good. My Santa Claus has always been white. I'm not saying that I wouldn't go into a mall or bring my kids into a mall and have a black Santa Claus and sit on their lap, because Santa Claus is more than just a Santa Claus, not a physical thing. There's Santa Clauses all over the place. Whatever you think Santa Claus is important to you. And if you have to see that, then from a cultural standpoint, I'm totally cool with it. I think it's fine. I think it's kind of cool, actually, when I'm walking through like a brass bear or something like that, and I see these little figurines of black Santa Clauses. It's different. We have a hard time seeing things that we're not used to seeing, and right away we want to dismiss them because it's not the way it should be. Well, that's just totally wrong. Maybe for you it's not, and you don't have to do it. You don't have to go see a black Santa Claus or a white Santa Claus. But Santa Claus is all up here, right? And he's alive and well, and I can't wait to see him because I've been a very, very good boy this year. There's one thing I want from Santa Claus this year, and that is to spend the holidays with my kids and get after it, man. I need to get a tree up. By the way, I'm going to tell you where my studio is, our brand new studio. Steve McClinton, good morning to you. I'm going to tell you where my brand new studio is soon because I put up about 20,000 lights, and I need to get on it. I am running late because I've been moving, and all my neighbors are going, what the hell's going on with your lights? Where are your lights? I can't even find my house on the street. So I'll get that stuff up going here soon. Make sure you download the TKR app, Tony Kurre Radio app. It's fantastic. Classic rock and roll shows from 9 o'clock in the morning all the way till 8 o'clock at night at the top of every single hour. If you miss any of our shows, go to the Tony Kurre Radio Podcast Network. We're on every major industry. All of our musically elemented shows like When in Rome with Stuart Rome, Austin Hanks Blues Almighty, The Damon Johnson Show, formerly, of course, well, he's still with Leonard Skinner, and, of course, of Brother Kane. He's got a fantastic show. So any shows that have music in them, you must listen to them on Spotify. Sometimes they do ask you for a small subscription rate, but I'll promise you it is worth every dime, like $1.99 a month or something like that. You can listen to all of our shows. And then all of our other shows are on Spotify and wherever else you get your podcast. So check them out, and I promise you're going to love them. Brand new shows every week. And by the way, we don't take any time off, Ryan. We'll be here on the day after Christmas. Of course, Christmas being recognized obviously on that Sunday, and then a lot of people off on Monday the 26th. We're here every single day. So new content throughout the year. And also, by the way, Damon Johnson did a fantastic 2-hour music Christmas extravaganza. And we're going to run that on December 18th. It's going to start on that Sunday, the 18th, and run for a week. It is 2 hours, I'm not kidding you, of killer Christmas music. You're going to get your Frank Sinatra stuff, you get your Dolly Parton stuff, you're going to get your Tony Bennett stuff. You get that wherever you want to listen to Christmas music. These are Christmas tunes that are classic rock songs. There's some different stuff. There's certainly some sentimental and some more nostalgic type of Christmas music, but Damon picks all the music on the show. It runs for 2 hours. It's fantastic. Last year, people were making copies of it, streaming it, and just saving it so they could play it for future Christmases. It's fantastic. So check that out. That's going to debut on December 18th. I hope you have a fantastic day. Dan Foster, good morning to you. Justin Brown, what's up, my brother? Good to hear from you. Al Cooper up there, Coosa Valley Auto Sales. Good morning to you, man. Thanks for watching this morning. And we'll get back after it tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, Dr. Josh Claypo in the studio, the brand new studio. First show here in our brand new studio, right around 8:15. And then we'll be on Fox 6 tomorrow morning, right around 9:35 with Janice and Dubs, the rest of the crew. And thank you so much to WBRC Fox 6 right here. They're the coolest, best television station in town. And we love our partnership with them on Kurre and Claypo and the Tony Kurre Radio Network. I love you. Have a great and safe day.
This has been a special presentation of Tony Kurre Radio.